Hello, welcome. My name is Kitty. I'm part of the Afghan Professional Network working with the Farkhunda Trust on this event. I would like to first of all start by saying there is no fire escape plan for today, no fire drill, so if you do hear the alarm, it is serious, so please make your ways to the exit signs and there'll be a warden outside. So hopefully nothing happens and we can continue. Your mobile phones, please put them on silent so they don't ring at an inconvenient time. We don't know what your ringtone is and we can keep it that way. If you would not like to be have your photos taken on social media or shared, please let one of the organisers know. There will be social media going on today, there will be videoing going on today, and we respect your right to have yourself removed, but please let us know beforehand, okay? I would like to start off by saying thank you to the speakers, the panellists, the moderators for taking the time out to prepare the reports, taking the time out to really, this topic, education, women, it's at the core of any success that Afghanistan has in the future. So we really value the time that you've taken on a Sunday to be here. And I would like to now introduce the founder of Farkhunda Trust, Rahila Siddiqui. If you could please give her a warm welcome.
Am I going to start myself? I think my turn is after Kamini Jan, but I will invite Kamini first to start her speech, and then after that I will go after.
Thank you. Thank you, Rahila. Good morning, everyone. Excellency, esteemed panelists, my fellow trustees, dear friends of the Farkhunda Trust, ladies and gentlemen. I'm really delighted to welcome you all here today. Especially as it is a Sunday, and I know there have been some huge issues with transport, so thank you very much for making the effort to join us here. We're very excited about the Farkhunda Trust Diaspora Academic Conference. I see many familiar faces and many new ones. My name is Kamini Paul. I'm the chair of the Farkhunda Trust. I was fortunate enough to be involved from the very beginning when Rahila had this wonderful idea and concept in memoriam of Farkhunda, who we all know died tragically in a horrendous incident in Afghanistan 3 years ago. As friends and colleagues, we all had experience of working in Afghanistan and have a very special place for Afghanistan in our hearts. So it's a country that we love, and we spent considerable time there in a personal and professional context. We wanted to create the space and opportunities for Afghan women in Afghanistan to access higher education where they may not necessarily have had these or faced challenges which thwarted the continuation of their studies. The women we support are vulnerable and marginalised, with perhaps not always being able to voice what they want. But they are strong and resilient, and most importantly, inspirational. They dare to dream and challenge with vision and aplomb. We're now in our third year, and we have more than 13 scholars, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm looking at you. 19, I apologise, 19 scholars who've been supported through our FT scholarships. We're also soon to begin a partnership with a third university, and you will hear more about this when Rahila makes her presentation. We're small and heavily reliant on the commitment and will of all our friends, supporters and stakeholders. But we continue to make an impact on the lives of women who aspire to become our future leaders, working professionals and citizens who want to give back to their community and pave the way for their sisters, who can see that realising your dreams and becoming the protagonist of your life story is possible. Challenging social and cultural norms is difficult and at times alienating, but knowing that there is support available makes that challenge easier to combat. Education is a right. This is why we in the Farkhunda Trust believe that as long as we continue to support, equip, and provide the mentoring and safeguarding for women to continue with their education, we are giving them the confidence to actively create their own destiny. You will, throughout the day, be given much food for thought through our breakout sessions and presentations. There's an opportunity to discuss the importance of power of youth engagement challenges faced by Afghan women, and of course, the crux of why we wanted to host this conference, how the support of the diaspora community is integral. The diaspora community not only provides a linkage between the families they have left behind in their country of origin and birth and the countries that they now reside in and contribute to, but they can potentially support the fight for peace and a different perspective on what is possible, an insight into support that is not always readily available, be it financial, social, and political. Although Afghanistan is trying hard to negotiate and navigate a peace process, we have seen the recent horrific tragedies in Kabul and Kunduz, that peace is still at times far away and perhaps considered hopeless. However, I would like to quote the words of Martin Luther King, who said, "I refuse to accept despair as the final response to the ambiguities of history." I implore that each and every one of you hold on to that hope and does not give up in despair, because community is humanity, and that is what changes the world and makes it a better place. I apologise that I'm unable to stay for the whole conference, as I have an unavoidable commitment, but I do encourage you all to connect, network, and contribute to what I know will be fruitful discussions. Lastly, I would like to thank our director, Rahela Siddiqui, our amazing executive team, volunteers and ambassadors. Their enviable energy, passion and strong belief in our vision and mandate, commitment and support is invaluable, without which the FT cannot continue to flourish and grow. Please enjoy the day, and for those who are staying, enjoy the wonderful entertainment that will take place later after the conference is finished. And I hope to see you all very soon at the next meeting. Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to see many people working across different things around this room. I want to give my special thanks to Mr. Yasser Sadek, the Afghanistan Embassy Counselor and Minister to the Ambassador, for his time and attendance. As many of you know, I run the Farkhunda Trust, which plays a small part for Afghanistan development process. At the Trust, we are trying to promote social integration between Afghan diaspora, other diasporas, and our British community, and through conferences and events like these in the UK. We are also providing higher education scholarship and mentorship to talented and disadvantaged girls in Afghanistan, those who do not have access to financial resources. We are active in Kabul, Kandahar, and in Ghazni. We have around 19 scholars, 17 during studies, and 2 already graduated by in 2018. Both of our graduated scholars have got jobs in the government based on merits. They are also providing voluntary mentorship to our current students based on Farkhunda Trust mentoring strategies. We hope to extend our conferences to other countries and increase scholarship support in Afghanistan. I would like to extend my thanks to our entire Afghan British community for their donation, and to our donors such as Charity Aid Foundation, 1 Billion Rising, and also our new funders, Amanat, for their generous donation and contribution to this beautiful cause, educating future mothers. Today's Afghan Diaspora Conference is the initial steps to engage Afghan intellectuals to continue towards Afghanistan's socioeconomic development process. It is collective effort of the diaspora, which we believe should increase its engagement and provide practical contribution. So a key goal of today's conference is to build a stronger diaspora community. We can meaningfully contribute through research, debate, engagement, on the most pressing issues facing Afghanistan today, from peace building to socio-economic development to women empowerment and to education. We aim to create new generation of change makers. Throughout the day, we will have the opportunity to explore and highlight the role of the diaspora in peace building, civic engagement, in state building, in development, and also think through what the future of Afghanistan can look like if we all do our part. We have speakers from across discipline, and we will discuss and examine many issues, including the relationship between state building and taxation, the difficult issues of ethnicity, and the complicity of diaspora and its role in promoting education for women empowerment in Afghanistan. We will also examine some of the contemporary obstacles in terms of religion, culture, and underdevelopment, the three prominent social factors that affect Afghan women's development and their active participations in the socio-political affairs of the country. Likewise, the assessment of the diabetes impact on a pregnant woman will be shared. And finally, the conferences will look to compare the recruitment process between United Kingdom and Afghanistan. The conference will also bring together activists, journalists, and academics to tackle some of the toughest challenges facing Afghanistan today. Please get engaged, ask questions after each panel presentation, and keep powerful group interaction. We have been a country in conflict over the 4 decades, and despite this, we have made some progress. Progress that is fragile, but one we can build on. It's important to highlight how Afghan people have realized significant, tangible developments in their own life and in society more broadly. Let me mention just a few. Today we have 3,126 women in police and 1,179 in army. We have over 100,000 girls at the university. 2,700 women are lecturers and over 66,000 are female teachers. 3,755 are at least doctors and 85,177 are civil servants and 240 judges. We have 10 deputy ministers, 4 ambassadors, 3 ministers. There are 800 businesswomen and $77 million through 1,700 private sectors are invested for women economic empowerment in Afghanistan. While we are grateful from foreign aid and humanitarian assistance, these victories are hard-won by the Afghan people. At the same time, as we all know, there is a great uncertainty today of where the future will take Afghanistan. And we see the numbers of civilians being killed in attacks increases daily. We have lost too many people. Some estimates suggest 150,000 people died between 2001 and 2018. Among those, 38,480 were civilian. This year, we have already lost 4,000 Afghan civilians. And there are over 600,000 widows in the country. So what we call for is unity and support for all Afghan mothers and their desire to educate all their children, including their daughters. We hope our Afghan diasporas and rural conferences can do its part to help bring this unity among the diaspora, to celebrate our diversity and to support all Afghans, our mothers, our daughters, and our population to increase a strong education path for our nations. We hope this path to peace will be sustainable. We hope Afghanistan Islamic Republic government protected the right of women's education based on Afghanistan constitutions. we hope they protect the right of all Afghanistan citizens to live in sustainable peace, and all peace builders, players, and international political leaders who are allies for Afghanistan peace building process protect democratic environment and citizens' rights. We aim to create the new generation of change makers. As Mahatma said, we must become the change we wish to see. Before leaving the floor, I would like to share with you our successful partnership for building this conference, or holding, this conference. This conference would not be happening without our great community contribution, our partners, our sponsors, and more importantly, our speakers and our professors. I would like to thank to all our researcher speakers for giving their times and for writing research papers. Especially to Shinkejan Karukhil, one of the prominent Afghanistan MPs, and Marinjan Safi, Director of DROP and academic researcher, for taking time and sending their video speech from Afghanistan. Great thanks to our academia professor for taking Dr. Gloria Mos, Dr. Altia Marie Rivers, for their time, and also I shouldn't forget Professor Naisan Adel Parwar, who is now in the United States, but they were three of them. They were greatly working hard to support our researchers for editing and proofreading of their papers. I would also like to extend our special thanks to our great supporters, Afghanistan Now, who is not here right now, and Times for Real Peace, Saharjan is there, for their partly financial contribution and media support. Great thanks to our moderator and to our social media supporters, Gargash Jan Gargash and Ziarmal Jan Gargash, Saharjan, Alamzai, Sanajan Safi, and Golwali Pisarli, Bashir Garwal, Samsur Jan Faiz, Miral Alizada, Sodaba Jan Kamra. They were all greatly supporting through their social media, the conference. A special thanks to our great sponsor, Mobilizi, Fatimi Solicitor, Share Sadat account, and Zohra's Afghan Boutiques for their sponsor and great community contributions. Finally, and more importantly, my heartfelt thanks to our partners, Afghan Vice Radio, to Afghan Professional Network. Qudsijan is one of the great examples here, and Ziarmaljan NXS Sedu is another example, Afghan Coordination Council, and for their tangible contribution and partnership. Thank you to our great ambassadors of support. Some of them are around this room. Some of them maybe because of Sunday, they didn't come yet, but they were greatly supporting, as Kamrijan, our chair, said, in many ways. Many thanks to our first ambassador, I shouldn't forget, for his support, Asif Nurzai, who is now in Afghanistan. He was our first ambassador, our first starter, who started from contributing monthly donation, and he did many ways support to the Farkhunda Trust. And to all our other ambassadors, Rayan Jan Khairi is there, Hogay Jan Aryubi is there, Farid Jan Ilmi is there, and many of them, Samsur Jan, I gave the names. Thank you to our great operation and publicity team. Again, Royan Jan, Ogay Jan, and Farid Jan. To Safia Jan Nasrat, Akbar Jan, Amina Jan, and Safia Jan, I said. I would like to leave the floor with the story of Japan. I just wanted to say that we hope we are in the same day, one day, we are in the same path that we are responsible for our countries. When Japan gets their independence, all the nation, the leaders came together, and they just tried to see that how to help Japan to be the top economic partners of the world economy. One said that top machinery of transport, Japan should be the producer. The other said like electronic equipment, different people. One very quiet person raised his hand and said that we need to train, coach for Japan, to train each citizens that if they take this glass or this bottle, carry carefully because it belongs to Japan. So what we need for Afghanistan, all our new generation of change makers who are really responsible to take the glass and carry very carefully because it belongs to their country. And I would like to finish with one of the very great points that I always love to repeat from Allama Iqbal Lahori, that he says, خدا آن ملتی را سروری داد که تقدیرش به دست خویش بنوشت. بدان ملت سر و کاری ندارد که دهقانش برای دیگران نوشت. ما امیدوار هستیم که افغانای عزیز ما، مخصوصا جوانا، باور کنیم که افغانستان به دست شماست و شما باید برش ایتو دل بسوزانین که واقعا گیلاسه، نه یک دسته دو دسته بگیریم که گیلاس نشکنیم، به خاطر که مردم افغانستان است. And I will also say that even in our host countries that we would like to do the social integration, do the same because of your second home and be responsible, doubly responsible for your host country and also for the country of origin. Thank you so much.
It's a great honour to be here to talk to you today about this all-important topic, and Rahela has already signposted the importance of this topic with reference to the economy of Japan. I mean, one couldn't look for a better example, really, than the economy of Japan. And the fact that early on a concerted attempt was made to identify the areas in which Japan could excel and harness the country's educational and technical efforts towards success. And that's a wonderful example to have, I think, in the back of our minds when we look at the topic of education and the role that it might play in fostering Afghan women's leadership. Fascinating topic. I only have a short time today because we've got a lot of speakers here today, but I'd like to look at this in two parts today. First, a very, very brief look at some of the literature on the role that education can play in developing economic progress, and then turning our attention to the second point there, which is the specific instance of Afghanistan. And the World Bank is a good reference point to start with. 2002 report, you don't need to read all those words on the slide, but if anybody wants copies of these slides afterwards, they'll be freely available, I'm sure. And the main point coming out for me in this World Bank report is the importance ascribed by the World Bank to knowledge, the role of knowledge in economic development. They actually, if you look at that first sentence, describe knowledge as the most important factor in economic development. I mean, I would say that many times just to highlight the point. And if you fast forward to the last sentence on that slide, you'll read their sentence that today economic growth is as much a process of knowledge accumulation as of capital accumulation. So we're talking about the primary importance of education. And in a slightly later report by the World Bank, 2013, which turns its attention specifically to Afghanistan, we find a very similar message resounding here. The knowledge content, they say, of production processes that differentiates high, medium, and low income economies. They suggest that among advanced countries, the education levels of their populations are the single most important factor determining their economic performance. And among middle income and low-income countries, high education levels produce substantial welfare benefits. So again, we have confirmation of the primordial importance of education in driving economic progress. And turning our attention even more closely to Afghanistan, we find again in the World Bank report 2013 emphasis on the positive impact on economic welfare of higher education in particular. And I underline higher education because of course that is the focus of FT, the Farkhunda Trust, higher education. And this report highlights the positive impact on economic welfare, particularly of higher education, from which, they say, we can derive the pool of high-level human resources that include policymakers, and Rahel has already signalled the fact that 2 former Farkhunda Trust scholars have now become policymakers in the country. So this isn't just theory, we've actually seen this happening in practice. And they can become administrators, managers, entrepreneurs, engineers, highly skilled technicians, as well as, and not least, teachers and academics. I also wanted to draw your attention to some what I think is fascinating research that was actually carried out in America on the way that values can be changed within a society when women are educated, because again this is a prime focus of the activity of the Farkhunda Trust. This research, and it's not a single body of research, there are 2 pieces of research here. The first piece of research highlights the fact that working women, i.e. those who've been through a process of education, are likely to have more egalitarian beliefs than non-working women. So those values could cascade out into society. And that's one of the reasons, I think, if I'm not wrong, Rahel, that you were keen to take your scholars from less advantaged parts of the economy so that when they go back into their communities, they can cascade out these values, which may be more egalitarian beliefs than previously were there. And the second piece of research was by Desai in America, 2012. When I came across this research, I was bowled over. I wonder what you feel about her findings. Here's a snapshot of her findings. Employed men who are married to women who are not working part-time, are more likely than those men with full-time working wives to view women's presence in the workplace unfavourably. So this is highlighting the importance of having educated working women as spouses, and not just spouses, but yes, if those spouses are working, they will influence the attitudes of the men to whom they are married. Extraordinary, no, this research. And employed men who are married to non-working wives are more likely to view women in the organisation as relatively unattractive than men who are married to full-time working women, i.e. women who've been in receipt of education. And last but by no means least, I would draw your attention to the last point on that slide. These men who are married to, I won't repeat it, are more likely to deny opportunities for promotion to qualified female employees. I can see some of you shaking, nodding. I mean, this research by Desai, I think, is extraordinary, and she used an extremely large sample. I would say it's robust research that we can rely on. So, the link between education, women, and economic progress and egalitarian beliefs is extremely strong. And you can see some of the information here on that slide. And there's a strong role for women as teachers in the economy, particularly perhaps in Afghanistan, as girls expand their presence in the economy. And the image I put there shows a teacher being like a candle. It shows the way forward for other people, not just with skills, but attitudes as well. And so I move to the second part of this very brief presentation, which is the situation in Afghanistan. And hitherto, as I understand it, the emphasis in international aid and effort has been on improving primary basic education. The effort hasn't been where Rahela has put the effort, very importantly, I believe, on higher education. And we know from the World Bank report of 2015 that women in higher education, we've talked about the importance of higher education in fashioning values and egalitarian beliefs, that those women in higher education do need extensive support. Just to remind you of the numbers of men and women in higher education in Afghanistan, women currently constitute no more than a third of the student body. And wisely, I think the World Bank report highlights the fact that the issue is not merely about access, which is difficult enough, training women up to the point where they are able to enter higher education, but the issue is also about retention. And this is where Rahela's scheme really has worked hard with its mentoring to help ensure that women have the support they need in order to stay the course and finish their degrees. And she's already got students who have completed, which is absolutely wonderful, given the obstacles that they face. And so I'd like to end by just highlighting the fact that the Farkhunda Trust is meeting these challenges that we've talked about head on. And we're pleased to say that we're planning an evaluation study to actually highlight some of the remarkable things that the Farkhunda Trust is doing. And if you're interested in hearing more about this evaluation study, or dare I say, financing it, because that would help with the resources needed to undertake this project, then please do not hesitate to talk to either of us afterwards. And I'm sure there'll be time later for questions as well. So
Thank you very much. Thank you.
همه خوش آمد میگم و خیر مقدم عرض میکنم حضور ثبت همه شما عزیزان را. Good morning everyone. I'm delighted to be representing Afghanistan on behalf of His Excellency Ambassador Said Tayyib Jawad. I have just returned back from Afghanistan on Friday and found out that the ambassador will be out of the country for the weekend and I will have to represent her today instead. Therefore, first of all, I would like to welcome you all to this Diaspora academic event and personally thank the founder of Farkhunda Trust, Mrs. Rahela Siddiqui, who has had an effective contribution toward the development and achievement of women in Afghanistan, for organizing this event and inviting the Embassy of Afghanistan to participate. Farkhunda Trust work toward the higher education of Afghanistan, vulnerable and disadvantaged girls is phenomenal. As we all know, such a short period of time evidently proves this. The National Unity Government of the Islamic Republic of Afghanistan has had great achievement in the past 5 years since 2014 to 2019 in terms of the education of girls and in general the achievement of women in the government and private sectors. While there still remains a lot of obstacles let me mention the achievement of girls robotic teams that comes from the heart my city. The all-woman orchestra or Zohra Orchestra just received the Polar Music Award in Sweden, and the group of women that created the digital platform from Afghanistan with the limited records to voice the concerns of women towards the ongoing peace negotiation between the US and the Taliban. The women and the people of Afghanistan in general have made great sacrifice in the past 18 years. The Taliban should not undermine this achievement and be prepared to accept the Afghanistan of 2019. We don't live in the 1990s anymore. I want to repeat again, we don't live in the 1990s anymore. I know that we have a long day ahead with great topics and speakers, so I would like to stop here and pass on the opportunity to the specialists on the topics. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thanks for stepping in at such short notice as well.